Good morning, y'all. Today is going to mark day one of a video series I'm going to start. I think we'll call it Cam Talks. Not really sure. I think it's a cool name, kind of play on TED Talks in front of a camera. My name's Cam, so that'll be cool. Yeah, I've been inspired to do this, I think, for a multitude of reasons. But number one, I did something very similar in Solitude 60, where I talked in front of a camera for 60, or actually, I think I did 100 days straight, 102, 103. And I really enjoyed that. And I feel like so much was learned throughout that period of time. It's such a huge transitionary period. And now that I can look back on that and see all the growth, I think it's just something I'm just glad I did. And now I see people like my friend Danny and my friend Luke that are doing these daily video series. Danny, I think, doing it for 100 days. I think I challenged Luke to do it for 100 days. So I think I'm going to join that also. One thing I do want to talk about today, it's been on my mind a lot recently, is creativity and its output. One thing I've noticed over the past year or so that I've really been creating so much more than I ever thought I ever would. I never considered myself a creative person, but now that I write often, I speak on camera often, and just creating events, creating community, whatever it may be, I've realized it's unlike anything else we've ever known. And so I remember when I used to be in school or when I used to have a job, whatever it was, no matter what, I can log in the computer and do the homework necessary, do the exams, or make the calls, write the emails. Those were kind of removed from all creative juices, let's say. And even I could be hungover, I could be lack of sleep, and I could still get those things done. Where I realized for me, when it comes to creating, it's just not really the same. And so myself and wanting to be disciplined and think things ahead, days in advance, months, years in advance, it feels good to my mind to be like, I'm going to do this every day. And I think it's okay to feel. It's led to so much growth for me and has really worked out my discipline muscle. And so for those of you who've been following me for a while know I post newsletters all the time. It used to be daily newsletters. I did 100 in a row, many of which were very long, very thought out. And what I would do is wake up every morning, either 4 or 5 a.m., and work for 2 to 3 hours on the newsletters. And they were due at 8 a.m. that day. And so I was kind of up against the clock to get things done. And I think that was really useful for me at a time. Now I'm starting to realize it was really hindering my creative performance, if that's what you want to call it. I kind of like that, creative performance. Because the ways we would do everything else in life, when it comes to output, don't really apply to creative pursuits. And so what I've noticed, I had a lot of very, what I would say for myself, impressive love letters that I wrote in that span of 2 to 3 hours that really come from the heart, really just felt great. But there were also some that were obviously just coming from the mind, where I looked back upon them and I'm like, I don't really like that much. And that was just something that I was thinking through as opposed to feeling through. And there were also days where I felt so burnt out, so tired, whether it was from writing itself or just other aspects of life, that I would write posts that were just, you were loved, you're enough posts. That was all I said in the newsletter. And it's completely okay. I feel like the people, a lot of people resonated with those actually and really needed to hear that day in their email inbox. So I'm completely okay with that happened. But what I realized was that even if I get all of the inputs right, I get enough sleep, I'm eating the right food, I'm very intentional when it comes to the distractions I allow into my life. There's only so much you can do to prep yourself to create. And the act of creation oftentimes does not coincide with how we view time, how we view our day, how we view our calendar, whatever it is. It kind of flows through you when it's ready. And so why this is, I think, coming up for me is after ending the daily newsletters that I was doing that was taking up so much time, so much energy, and I really enjoyed. When I got to day 100 and said, all right, I'm going to make these weekly, I said that about a week and a half ago. And I said in the letter that I wanted to make my first weekly post be September 1st, which would have been yesterday. But that entire week, after I think just having like a go for the past 2.5, 3 months, no, 4 months almost, I felt just so kind of drained and exhausted that I need to recalibrate everything. I was taking like multiple naps every day almost, sleeping so much more than usual, and honestly just stepping away from my daily practices and just like eating more like burgers and pizza and just relaxing and watching reality TV with my girlfriend, and all that I really enjoyed. And like, by no means did I think it was like a negative. I think it was much needed and something I want to continue to some level in my life going forward. But it was a reaction to, I think, months of just brute force of creativity and other aspects of life. And in comparison to how others brute force their entire life, it probably was nothing. But for my personal life experience, I think it was big. And I realized like that's just not something I want to do going forward. Everyone I look up to in personal development, in the space of spirituality, the people who I'm now been attracted to their content, the Michael Singers, Eckhart Tolle's, whoever it may be, I've noticed that they create the books, the podcasts, do events when it really feels right to them. They're all disciplined in their own unique ways when it comes to their inputs, their practices, when it comes to meditation or breath work or whatever else they may do, or sitting in front of the computer and actually doing something. But when it comes to the output, they let that be fully intuitive. And so Michael Singer in his podcast, he'll post like 3 episodes in 1 week, and then we'll post again for 9 months. And there's something about that that just feels so right to me, despite how opposite that is from all the programming I've seen my entire life of looking up to David Goggins and Kobe and all the other, whether it's athletes or businessmen. They said, you got to do this every day no matter what, and got to put out content, you got to do this and that. I'm just like, I understand where that's come from, but that's just not serving who I want to become anymore. And I never thought I'd really want to say this, but like it really comes down to balance. Rest and recovery is just as important as the doing. And yeah, so I think this past week, especially in this current moment, I feel like a deep reflection of what is worth pursuing and how often and what does that look like is a question that it's time to find the answer. And for me, I feel as if that looks like writing, speaking on camera, and connecting with others through community events or hosting. I want that to be on my time when I decide, when I feel ready. And have no judgment towards myself if I take a week off, a month off, or a year off from certain things. And just having full faith and trust that the ecosystem of businesses, communities, and just acts of service of others won't turn into a house of cards and shamble, because that just won't happen. And so, yeah, it is quite unique. And I feel as if the more intuitive I allow my creative performance to be and get rid of any amount of judgment I may have towards the output, I think is deeply important for this next chapter of my life. And this is a unique thought because output is one thing. Publishing work, posting work, whatever it may look like, is one thing. But also the input is something that is deeply in my control. And I do think I would be better off if I set aside time every single day to get in front of the keyboard to do other things that allow me to flex that creativity muscle. But just because we're working out doesn't mean we got to step on stage for a bodybuilding contest in that type of reference, whatever it may be, or a CrossFit Games, whatever it may look like. I feel like I can create for myself on my own time and not feel as if I need to publish it immediately or ever if needed. Well, hope you all still with me. My computer just went black. There we go. Well, seems like everything's good. I just gotta touch the mouse every once in a while or else it'll go off. But yeah, that's really, I think, it for today. I'm just now focused on rewriting the story on what creativity looks like for me. Now that I've had this long run of very disciplined, very strategized output, it's now time to find the right balance of not only how I want to create, but how I want to live. And I feel like finding that right balance for me, which will change, I think, season to season of life, but it'll make every day something that I really enjoy waking up to and allows me to give my full energy into whatever I'm doing. Whether that's writing all day or hosting community events and retreats or whatever on the weekends, whatever it may look like. It's really important for me to just really be incredibly intentional with where I'm putting my life force and always doing what feels right. It's kind of like if you knew that everything that you focus on will come into the reality that you envision, which is what I deeply believe and what I've seen in front of my eyes. The question then becomes, what is worth pursuing and at what time? And I feel like for myself at this moment, that's ever evolving. And I need to have full allowance within myself to be okay to take an off day or an off week or an off month, whatever that may look like. Knowing that I'm going to live this life in a way that is always feeling into what is the best way that I can alleviate suffering today for others. Yeah. So that's it. Just kind of letting go of any expectations of creative performance and create for the act of creating. Not creating for the few hundred or few thousand people that's going to see it. Not creating for getting it out by 8 a.m. But creating when I feel called to. So that's it for today. Thank you all for listening to the very first, I think I'm call it Cam Talks, not sure. Very first Cam Talks edition. Today, September 2nd, 2024. And this is something, again, like of the topic. I don't know if I'm going to do this every single day, but it is something I enjoy and something that is low in creative energy. I can just kind of hop on a riff with no expectation. So the more things I have like that, I think the more sustainable they can be. But we'll see. Thank you all for joining me on this journey. I unconditionally love you all. Have a great day.